John, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Sorry I didn't get that link to you earlier. I feel bad.
No, you don't need to feel bad. I was just, it got to be 4:30 and I'm like, I know you guys are on it. And we got
this is the first one in the morning, so I'm thrown off.
No problem. Do you have any idea who we have with us?
We have 7 people registered. I can send you the list.
Okay.
Let's see.
No rush. I'm just curious.
Okay. Do you have a PowerPoint that you're sharing, or?
So, what I was going to do, I mostly have photography.
Okay.
So I have a few slides from a presentation, and then I would like to talk first, but okay. In all, I'm 15, max 20 minutes, and then kind of open it up for questions.
Okay.
So if you can allow me to share the screen at some point, I can just show the photography.
So I'll make you the host.
Okay.
Because then you can share. So, okay. You're the host.
How's it going?
Pretty good. It's early for me.
Yeah.
See, it looks like Michelle and Trisha are
Feels
on.
good early in the morning though, rather than 97.
So did you want to practice sharing your screen or anything?
Oh, sure. You want me to try?
Sure.
So I was just going to tell me if you can see this, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I can see it.
I was just going to go through a few slides here. And I'm not sure how I do the full slide from here, you know? Just.
It's probably, let's see. Is it view?
normally when you double click on it, but I mean,
Is that the PowerPoint?
it's Keynote, it's Apple.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Sure. Oh, wait. Oh, there you go.
So I'm just going to show 4 or 5. I hate PowerPoint.
Okay.
So I'll just show a few slides. And then I have some photography. Tell me if you can see this. Yeah.
I still see the PowerPoint.
No, I'm do you see the landscaping piece here?
Nope. Is it in a different tab?
Yep.
So you'll have to stop sharing and then reshare that new tab.
Okay.
I know, it kind of sucks.
I've done this so many times. Yeah, so then I'll just go to photos after.
Okay. Yep,
yeah.
Now I can see it.
Okay.
Cool. Well, if you don't have any other questions or need me for anything else, I'll jump off and you can just maybe wait a few minutes to start.
Yeah, I can wait a few minutes. Thanks for helping set it up.
Okay, of course. Yep. All right, so you're the host.
And I can change my screen share, down below?
Yep.
No.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
All right, I'm gonna head out. Let me know if you need me for anything.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Trisha, Michelle, or Kathy, can you guys hear me okay, volume-wise?
Yes. Hi, good morning, John. Sounds great.
Thanks for joining. I figured we would try a morning one since we're all going 100 miles an hour.
It's a brilliant idea. I'm going to be multitasking here, kind of listening in like a radio show. I'm excited to learn about this product.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Everybody's multitasking right now, aren't they?
It's the morning rush.
I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes because I think there's a few people still jumping on here. So
yeah, that's a good idea.
Enjoy your coffee, tea, or juice while you can.
Great.
For those of you that are on as well, I absolutely despise, you'll probably hear me say this again before I start off, but I'm not a big PowerPoint guy, but I do have some photography that I thought I would share in our world of Zoom. So bear with me as I jump around to some photos and then open it up for some dialogue.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
I'll give it just maybe another minute or so. Okay, I'm going to fire away, and I'm sure people will jump on because I think we had 7, and I'm sure people are scrambling to get kids off to summer activities or finishing school or something else. But I'll start by saying good morning to everybody. My name is John Fowler. I live over in St. Paul, Minnesota. I have a showroom here in St. Paul. My background is I grew up in the Twin Cities here on the west side. Went to St. John's, excuse me, married to Tommy. So guess where we live? Right by St. Thomas. And 3 kids, 3 teenagers, one that just graduated high school and 2 others in the process. So life is busy, but I'm sure glad to be in front of you folks as close as possible to in person. Quite a year and a half. My background is I started by selling kitchens for Lyman ABC out in Excelsior in the mid 90s, and enjoyed the before and after of construction and seeing between remodels and new construction and even commercial, seeing something go from a blueprint or a plan to a finished product. And most important to me, and you'll hear me say this a lot, is I really enjoyed the people. A lot of good people in our industry, as you all know. And then I was Anderson Windows sales rep for Europe, going on 2 and 3 week trips back and forth across Europe and the Middle East, setting up distribution. Small part of their business, but interesting, and a lot of great experiences at a young age. And then I was, after 9/11, a lot of uncertainty in everyone's world. So a friend of mine in town here owns a very reputable manufacturer's rep firm. And I worked with David for a couple of years, I think 3.5 years actually. And I was, we represented some nice brands, including Simpson Door, Linden Flush Door, Kaufman Stair Parts, hardwood molding manufacturer from Wisconsin, and some very reputable lines through distribution. And I love that. But then I had the opportunity where Marvin Windows reached out to me and was looking for somebody to do exactly what I had done for Anderson, but to move to Europe. So my family and I moved to Europe in 2008. The boys were 2 and 4. My daughter Isabel was born there. And we spent almost 7 years in Belgium setting up distribution for Marvin across primarily Europe, a little bit into Turkey and the Middle East. And amazing experience, and came back home and knew I wanted to do something on my own at one point. So I started my company in 2019. And I have kind of a range of products, and there's a lot of things evolving right now. I'll share that I will let you know, and this, so I'll probably do some type of a PR or public launch. It definitely is in the midst of starting another new company to specifically align with this company I'm talking about today. And if there's any questions too, I'm more than comfortable with interactions or interruptions. So if you have one, please don't feel like you're interrupting. This is obviously for you. So, yeah, any questions with that, or that the background?
It's impressive.
Life, it's an experience. So started Chateau Global in 2019, did a bunch of trade shows. I think Amber, who's on here, I could be incorrect, but I believe I met Amber at the Home and Garden Show, which was March of 2020. Finished up the trade shows and ready to go. Here we go. Wasn't the plan. So one of the companies I found, and this is what I want to talk about here, is a family-owned manufacturer. If you took a map of the United Kingdom and put a dot right in the center of it, that's Coventry, England. That's where this family-owned company is based. They started their business 20 years ago. It's the father started the business by actually making imprints of different stone products for landscaping. And they evolved into 14 years ago where the son, Jerry, who's now the CEO or managing director in the UK, had the idea where he went to a trade show and there's a little 10 by 10 booth, and this gentleman was selling materials, and the outside of the product of the booth was this old reclaimed wood. And they made an offer, said, I'd like to buy your stand after the show because I love the material. He goes, well, everything's for sale. You can buy my booth except for the wood around the outside, which is the exact reason why he wanted to buy it, with the goal of working with a lot of the molds and molding they had some experience with their stone to develop some type of a board. And thus, the funny part of that story is they did not allow him to buy it, but he let him rent the boards to make the molds off of. So off of 17th and 18th century boards from old train cars, they molded a product, and that's where millboard was born. Specifically targeting the professional contractor across the United States. I was recently approved as a distributor for the United States. I am stocking material here in the Twin Cities. I said showroom is in St. Paul. I have another warehouse locally here where my first container just came in. I have 2 other containers coming in here in 10 days. COVID has not affected logistics for me to import from products from Europe. So thus, with the challenges of some of my competitors in the United States, and I'm just starting, so they're competitors only in that they are selling decking and docks. I haven't had an issue with regards to lead time and getting material here. So I'm currently stocking 4 colors. Why I like millboard is I love the family-owned concept. I'll dive into a little bit on the specifics of the material. But when I looked at the market, and I did not plan to get into the decking business, for example, there's a lot of different manufacturers out there that do a great job and are great brands. So you have TimberTech and AZEK and Cedar, and I mean, you got a whole range of products. But my experience, even going to Las Vegas, the International Builders Show several times, was that a lot of them were a PVC, either recycled PVC or PVC product. So it had those properties of PVC. And what really stuck out to me with millboard is it's the only one that I found that it has a molded surface on the top coat. So it's essentially a quarter of an inch. I'm going to hold this up to the screen. If you can see that top quarter inch of the material, they actually pour a mold over 2 different grains and mold it over fiberglass. So the core here is made up of 3 materials. The density of the material is made up of actually food grade powdered limestone that gives it its density. If you can see up close, you can actually see the fiberglass strands in the material, which gives it its strength and flexibility. And then there is a little bit of resins that are holding it together. But the interesting thing with what I found in my research, and as I've started here, is that it's the only one that has a fiberglass core and the only one that has a molded top coat. So not only does aesthetically it have loads of character, but it has some very interesting and unique properties. A couple of them, which would be, it's been slip tested. So very slip resistant compared to any material on the market. Sliver resistant, because that's rubber. That's a heavy duty rubber called lastine. And it's also for the installation, and I'll show a short video, you actually screw directly into this material. There's no pre-drilling, there's no clip systems. You screw directly into this material and that top rubber coat instantly flexes over, so you have no exposed screw heads. So the installation is quite simple, it's quite clean, and yet when I looked at these boards aesthetically, and this is a 7 3/4 inch wide, 1 1/4 inch thick solid board, yet it's quite light. So not only is it strong with the fiberglass core, aesthetically pleasing with the heavy duty rubber, it's a molded product, but the fact that it's no slip, no sliver, you screw directly into it. So it's a simple installation, and we do require to do some installation training for the homeowner, owner, obviously the contractor, for all parties involved. We do it in 2 different grains. So this is actually called the enhanced grain. So while that may not look very exciting as a grain versus a lot of products on the market, which would be a print or a photo of a grain, this is molded. So you can see that 1/4 inch approximate top coat of the heavy duty rubber. It gives it no slip, gives it the feel of real wood on your feet, and yet very simple to install with the fiberglass. I'm going to share some photos here. Bear with me. So this just gives you some of the key points that I've laid out, and I mostly have photography. There's just 2 slides here showing you. So the lastine top coat, the fact that there's no wood in the material, so it will not rot, It is not susceptible to algae. So I'm actually doing proposals for trails and pathways down in the Florida Everglades. The last stain is on the far left there is a heavy duty rubber top coat that I mentioned. The structural core with the resin and the limestone powder. And the fact that it's solo, it is not hollow, gives it some very unique properties. This again reiterates some of the key points in terms of obviously low maintenance, very low carbon footprint, molded from real oak in a couple different grains, slip resistance, sliver resistance, they call it splinter, very environmentally friendly. And one big point for me in the southern United States is resistance to algae. Another question I get asked quite regularly is UV, weathering, and heat. I will say that I would put this against any material on the market from a perspective of UV, because each board that billboard manufactures has 3 coats. One of them is actually an automotive grade paint that's gone through robotics. And they actually do a hand coat at the end on each board specific for those deep grains to show that character. So from a UV perspective, it performs very well. We've done some, it's a 14-year-old manufacturer. So we've done 10, 7, 5, and 3-year testing and are consistently testing the material for ongoing UV and weathering stability. How can we improve? How can we be better?
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
There's some background noise. Reed, I think it might be from your line. Could you mute?
You got it.
Thanks, Reed. Thank you. So that from a UV and weathering stability, the colors on this material, it looks actually authentic, like a real piece of wood. In fact, when I did my trade shows, I was reprimanded by a couple of builders in Wisconsin and one in Minneapolis saying, why would you use reclaimed wood for your decking? Well, it's not. It's a molded product. This shows you the 2 different grains here, and I'll point out a couple of key points. So the left side is called weathered. That comes in 3 different colors. That one right there specifically is called driftwood. It's been extremely popular. And this is where I want to integrate the fact that I'm not a decking company. I sell material that is specifically for multiple segments in our industry. And I'll show you some photos. So decks, obviously an extremely good product for decks. I'm actually doing docks on Lake Minnetonka, bidding them in northern Wisconsin, bidding them in northern Minnesota, because there's no wood in the material. It's a fiberglass core. That's what they're making windows and other building materials are, as you are all aware. Excellent. So decks, docks, pathways, talking with the DNR, talking with the Everglades and some of the refugees in Florida, Alabama, Georgia. I'm looking at doing more and more with patio furniture for restaurants, for homes, for landscape applications. Landscapers, hardscapes and landscapes. It's an excellent material for that, and I'll show you some photos for that. So the left side is the weathered grain. It comes in 7 3/4 inch widths. So with a 1/4 inch gap, it's an 8 inch wide space, if you will. Both of these boards are 1 1/4 inch, and they come right now in 12-foot boards. The one on the right, the only difference in these 2 besides the grain, the one on the right is called the enhanced pattern. That one, the only difference is same specs with the exception of the width. It's a 6 3/4 inch wide board, which is still a very nice wide board compared to what I believe is on the market right now. It gives you a nice big solid, looks like a piece of wood. This is just an up close shot of the 3 colors that are available in the weathered grain. Obviously, we live in a world of oaks and maples and all the wood window and door manufacturers. So on the far left is called the vintage, weathered vintage. The center one is called weathered driftwood. The right one is called the weathered embered. I've made tables out of the embered. I'll show you some photos on that. This is an example of just a couple of photos of a presentation in Florida, but this picture always seems to wow people when I show it to them because that pathway is fiberglass. So that pathway will not have an issue for the duration in the elements. And I never noticed after having this photo for so much time that there's actually a black lab in the end of that photo. Another pathway photo, again, this one being in the vintage. This was perfect for the Everglades because there's a specific project looking at exact photo of what this is showing here. But again, it will not be susceptible to termites, algae, rot, weatherability. More pathways, and not just pathways. I'm going to jump over to some of my other photos. Everybody see that okay? If someone can just confirm.
Yep, that looks good.
Thanks, Tricia. This is just an example of the weathered in the embered color, just for an application of a deck or a dock. This would be more of a landscape deck application. Again, I love the fact that I can address multiple applications with one material. Where's my, sorry. I'll just leave it like this. This is a photo of, I'm just minimizing that, a photo showing the weathered driftwood in an application for a little pathway or a deck area. This is another example of an application where I fit. Now, obviously, we have to get approval from specific city and or installers with regards to architectural. But this shows a couple different things. Not only does it show our weathered vintage board, and again, on the properties of a pool where it's traditionally what? Concrete or stamped concrete. But because concrete eventually over time will crack, expand, and contract, this gives you a no slip, no sliver aesthetic application for a pool. And one thing I want to point out there is the molding, the rounded piece there is actually one piece of our rubber molding. So when we do our edge pieces, we have a square or a rounded edge piece. There's no heating that up. There's no cutting it into 10 pieces and installing it all the way around. That's one piece of molding. And the reason it's so flexible is because that's about half of the thickness of that is the heavy duty lastine rubber. But yet again, you screw directly into it and the screws disappear. This is showing our smoked oak, which is a very popular color for us. That is in the enhanced grain and a light gray. The light grays, for some reason, have been extremely popular. This is just showing a detail of a molding on what would be, again, another application, planters or a deck area. One comment I've had, I've done a few jobs in St. Louis, doing one in Vegas. And in the Midwest here, it's getting more and more popular with regards to LED lighting and integrated lighting into your deck areas. Because the material is, again, has that limestone core with the fiberglass, it's extremely simple to route out specifically for LED lighting. So I thought that would be an interesting photo there. That's our golden oak in the enhanced grain. I've shown you this photo of the weathered. This is a deck that was installed that just trying to show, obviously it's loaded with character. This is the weathered vintage. You can see there's a couple of splices in there. There is a top coat of material that once you finish installing a deck, and we do this on the installation training, you simply spray that down with a hose and it washes away that top coat and it gives it that sticky slip, that little bit of a bite for the anti-slip. But I did want to point out that even in some of those applications where you have, and there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think I see 7 different splices there, not as noticeable because of the wild grain. This has been an extremely popular photo. I apologize. I do have a better resolution photo of this deck. I just could not find it immediately last evening. Another example of a pool deck application. Again, no slip, no sliver. We also have, and I'll show you here shortly, there's a couple other applications for furniture. This would be maybe a restaurant application here using our molding. But from a clean standpoint, very easy to just power wash or spray off clean. Another pathway, I've sent this one and had discussions with Duluth. If those of you have been up to the Canal Park, and the pathway that consistently gets blown out of the water, I'm trying to propose a solution for them where we could have something not only low maintenance or no maintenance essentially, but would perform and wouldn't rot, fade over time. This is going to be a spa application. I've had more and more spa applications for my product because when they step out, whether it's winter or summer, right, you don't have that slippability like you may have on wood or other materials. This is where I'm going to integrate just a couple of slides because it is a new range for us. Another application of material, or of application of a segment, I should say, for our product is they are coming out. We come out with siding. So the new name is Envello, like envelope, E-N-V-E-E-L-L-O. Comes in 2 different styles, 4 different colors. I'll show you a photo of it when I jump off, but this just gives you an example of a clean look of our siding material that we are just starting with. So we're kind of in a phase to look at opportunities with folks like yourselves to give us a try. You know, we're not looking to take over the United States market in one day. It's just to try out a few projects and make sure we're a good fit for you and that you like the product. I'm confident in the performance of it. But this gives you an idea of a siding application, and that would be in our burnt cedar color. I took this one with me to Colorado because this is actually our decking boards, but they wanted a wilder green look for like a barn application, or for those of you who've been out to Colorado and Steamboat, some of those areas. That is a fiberglass core, heavy duty rubber top coat material that looks and feels like wood, but you really have essentially no maintenance. You're kind of done once that's completed. Another application for remodeling, building, and landscaping is landscape hardscape. So obviously this has not only a fountain, but a stone wall. And then that top coat is wrapped, if you see that. And then you got the decking in our weathered vintage material. So gives a nice clean look, excellent performance, and aesthetically is extremely pleasing, and it feels like wood, which is really the key. Aesthetically, it looks great, but when you feel it, that's the tough thing you can't show on a Zoom call, is the feel of the material. This photo has already secured me 4 projects in the last couple of weeks, because this is actually showing a couple of things. One of them is an aluminum subframe material that we are starting to launch, which has recycled PVC core that allows me something to drill into, but it also shows that it's entirely covered with millboard. So I love the screen wall. We're showing a planter here. We're showing essentially a little pergola application, seating, but also the rounded molding I mentioned earlier. So you see the screen wall, how that bends all the way around. That is one piece of molding. And as well as in the bottom where you see the curved gray area, that's actually a rounded molding. It's one piece, you screw directly into it and the screws suck up into the heavy duty rubber and they're gone. Let's see here. I'm gonna go back to, where do I go to? Can everybody still see me? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, thank you. You'd think after 2 years of this, you'd have a little more, no. Anyway, so just to show you a couple of the different siding profiles, this one's called our Chateau line. Again, it's a 1/2 inch. It's got that 1/4 inch heavy duty rubber on the top. You screw directly in along this top line, and it comes in 4 colors. This is my burnt cedar. This is my antique oak, but that top line is covered with a very simple lip over. So you have no exposed screws. You can do it horizontally. You can mount it vertically. Here's the other application, which to my surprise is actually growing in popularity again. I thought it was maybe a little old school, but a board and batten application. So if you look at the profile of that, you have approximately 1 inch thick here, approximately 1.5 inch here. But again, the same interlocking feature. This is our burnt cedar and then the smoked oak. So that is just showing you the profiles of the siding. I'll also show you a couple photos of our recycled PVC. Pretty sure we're all aware, and I sat in on Pat's presentation, who I've known for a long time with regards to lumber prices exploding. Now that wasn't the plan for us to launch to market, but it is nice to have a solution that maybe others don't offer or may be interesting. This is a 2x6 out of a recycled PVC that is not only from a standpoint of performance going to perform. So we do a 4x4 post. You can bury into the ground and then use these 2x6s, but it also allows you to screw directly into the top coat and into the subframe. We also offer it in a 2x2. It's fairly dense and heavy. And then I do have some contractors in town, remodelers and that are starting to do, because of the cost of wood, but also looking at structural options, doing their decks out of steel. So to have an option to sister up to steel and allow you something to screw in has been another interesting option for people in the market. And then I'm going to show you, and I promise you this will be a 30-second video, but it is always gets people, just bear with me for 1 second here, because this is showing you how the material installs, because when I explain it to people, they say that's not possible, but it is not magic. It's actually, I'm gonna share this screen. Can everybody see the desktop okay? Can everybody see that okay? If somebody can just confirm. Yep. Appreciate it. So I'm not gonna show you the whole 5-minute install video, but this is just showing you how you screw into the material. You don't need any special tools. We provide the screws, the bits. A traditional skill saw or miter saw is needed to cut this material. But this is 15-20 seconds showing you how it installs right into the material directly.
Millboard Durafix stainless steel fixings mean that there's no need to pre-drill or countersink. You can just screw straight in. We advise using a standard driver with the bit provided and not an impact driver to fix the Durafix screws to the decking, as this can break the drive bit and screw head, as well as impede the board from being fixed directly against the subframe. The Durafix 45mm screws should be used when using the Geospan framework. For best results, coat the fixings in silicone spray before use. When screwing in, push firmly on the screw whilst applying pressure to the board, finishing the screw head 5mm below the last stained surface. This should leave a minimal witness mark. Failure to use our Durafix fixings with the bit provided, or not fitting according to these guidelines, may invalidate the...
Everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So that just shows you, not only is it a simple installation, but the fun part about that installation is when I did my first dock on Lake Minnetonka, is I had a gentleman that was screwing in into the material, into the subframe, turned around, grabbed 4 more screws, screwed into the next joist, turned around, came back and said, I have no idea where I left off. So it was kind of fun because it proves the point that it does actually suck over, and it's obviously in the wilder grain, it's even more difficult to find where you've installed that. Obviously, I know some of the questions that might come out that I'll try to address right away, but I want to encourage as many questions as possible. Is what if you screw in, you need to take a board up? Obviously, you would need to, there's a process where you can remove a board and pull it up. And you can, in fact, because the screws would still be there, right, undo those screws and reinstall it, or you could replace a board, worst case scenario. Pricing on millboard. So I found when you look at the entire gamut of options that are on the market, obviously, we believe we're a premium material. We're not trying to be off the page. So we've put it at a position where it's depending on the grain and the color, it's going to range from that $14 to $16 per square foot. I will say that is indicative because it depends on the project, and really we're selling boards. So most of the decks that I've done so far have been pretty simple from the standpoint of they've been the decking material and the screws and some touch-up paint for the ends. There are other options, as I shared, with regards to the rounded molding or square moldings. We have a bullnose. But again, as we integrate ourselves into the market, and I wanted to directly address NARI and the installers and you folks, is just looking to get our start with the right partners. And I'm a big believer, for those of you that weren't on the front end of the call, that it's all about people and finding good people to grow a business with and working together. I've got a lot of experience in addressing issues and opportunities, and it's good to be home, number one. It's good to have an interesting family-owned company like this. And I'm just excited about seeing where I can take it. And I think back to the applications, the fact that you can do decks, docks, pathways, pool decks, hardscapes, patio tables, and now siding, you know, kind of the sky's the limit for other opportunities down the road. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions, comments, anything.
Hi, John. Let me get rid of this virtual background. I do have a question about snow melt systems. Have you ever considered whether or not a snow melt system on a walkway would work? I
haven't. It's a good question. I haven't considered that. You know, like an underground, like a heated flooring type of thing. I do know a couple companies, one in Colorado that I know pretty well, that has looked at that. I haven't looked at it for this because obviously you're dealing with different markets where there's different fire codes and stuff like this, especially out west. But that's a good point, Patricia. I will make sure to look into that. I appreciate it.
I'm having a hard time seeing a downside. This is a great product.
Thank you. Again, it's, I think one important point is new to the market. So to be new to the market, to have something that not everybody else has and to have it be unique and different, again, it's very difficult. Every appointment I've had in person in the last 6 weeks, once they see the material and are able to hold a sample of it, it's kind of a done deal. Just don't sell on price. You want to make sure you get proper service, proper installation detail, but there's so many different applications, and yet aesthetically it's unlike anything else out there. It's wider. You can feel the grain of the wood and all the different segments it can address. So I appreciate that, Tricia. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Take both. Pretty quiet. Okay. Thank you for those that joined. I wanted to try the early morning option. Hope you like the product. Would love an opportunity to work with you. And don't hesitate to call if you have any other questions, or email, whatever you're comfortable with, text, anything. And thank you for joining this morning. And look forward to seeing you out in the field.
Thanks, John. Great presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your week, everybody.